Hello, and welcome to the Pit Pony podcast with myself, Sharon Corley,
and me, Sarah Dunwood,
in which we talk to teachers from all walks of life who exited the classroom from what they thought was a job for life and thrived on the other side of teaching. Here is the original audio of the Pit Pony video recorded in April 2021. Please note that there may be certain aspects of the video that were relevant during that time that have not aged well. However, the underpinning principles within the recording are still relevant to a life after teaching. So many of you on the group have known that there was a post that went on Friday night. I do like to date stamp these things because they age quite quickly. It is the 24th of April. And on our chat this afternoon is the Sarah Dunwood, whose face that you all recognise. And then there's one of our group members, Sue Bowie, who has walked the path that many of you are hoping to walk, which is to leave teaching when you feel completely and utterly, financially painted into a corner by your job. I spend 2 hours every evening speaking to members of the teaching profession who are desperate to get out of the classroom, but in the main, genuinely believe that the reason that they are still in there is because they are either the breadwinner, the main earner, they've got dependence upon that teacher's salary that mean under no circumstances can they possibly leave. And what we want to do in the process of this interview and this chat is to walk you through a blueprint and to make you see your financial set of circumstances through a completely different lens, to the point that after you've listened to us, you're going like, I really hadn't understood that at all. So we're not selling multi-level marketing. We don't expect you to go knocking on doors flogging moisturiser or anything like that. There is a very, very simple process where you evaluate your financial set of circumstances, you look at it in a completely different way, and then you create an exit strategy based upon what is a really realistic set of financial circumstances. Now, you are not talking to 3 middle-class women whose husbands were cosmetic dentists and we tinkered around the edges for fun in teaching. You are talking to 3 women who, in a variety of different ways, were the main breadwinners in their homes. So, Sue, many of them know my story, many of them know Sarah's story. Tell us a little bit about your exit from the classroom and the financial set of circumstances you faced that made you feel trapped.
Okay, so I was a teacher for 10 years. There was UPS 1 and had a TLR because I'm second in the department. And in my house, I am the sole breadwinner. I do have a husband and a son, neither of whom work for different circumstances. I am the sole breadwinner. I'm the only one that brings in money in my house. So to say that you feel trapped by your salary is exactly how I would describe it. I was completely and utterly trapped by my salary. I brought home, I think my last wage slip was like £2,450 a month. That's what I brought in. Overdrawn most months. Had bailiffs knocking on the door for council tax and things. Had the education support partnership getting me out.
Which people don't think happens to teachers because do you know what they think? You're on a really good wage.
Yeah.
You're a middle-class profession.
Yeah.
I lived, when I was married, I had exactly the same set of circumstances. It'd go in on the 15th, it'd be gone by the 17th.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. So completely and utterly trapped by my salary. And
the thought of leaving,
oh my God.
teaching.
I can't do it. What can I do? Who's going to pay the rent? I don't even know my own house.
The leaves would go from over our heads. The world would come falling in. We cannot leave because of the finances. What we're going to say, Sue, is actually, it's not finances that keep you in the classroom.
No.
What is it that keeps a teacher in the classroom?
Fear.
Fear.
There is it fear of change and fear of the unknown. And it is literally just that. You know, I think you get to the point, you're telling yourself it's the money, and you're telling yourself, you might even tell yourself it's the kids. It is fear. It's fear of making that final step. of taking that leap.
So what was your journey? Was lockdown a good thing for you? Was lockdown not a good thing for you? What was your set of circumstances there?
Well, so January 2020, I'd had enough. I really want to leave. I can't if I own too much money. And then I was sort of holding on really by the skin of my teeth, forcing myself to get into work every day. Many people who watch this will know of the comment about having a tree on the way to work.
But what was that, Sue? I know what you mean, but just to explain.
Right, okay, so yeah, and I was so shocked that so many other people had it. I had a tree picked out on the way to work. I just wanted to have an accident, just put me out of action for 5 or 6 weeks, but I would still get paid. I just need to not have to go in for 5 or 6 weeks and have a good enough reason not to go in for 5 or 6 weeks. So could I just crash the car and have a bit of whiplash? Could I just my leg somehow? Something?
And loads of people piled on the thread, didn't they?
Yeah.
I've got a tree. I had a crash barrier. I had a wall, and it's horrendous.
It's horrendous. So lockdown happened, and it saved me. It genuinely saved me. I can breathe. Yes, I was still doing work online. I was still teaching online to the school. But that first lockdown was a bit different, wasn't it? It was just about uploading PowerPoint and work and answering emails to students. So I was still doing a 12, 14-hour day, but it didn't feel quite so pressured. Didn't have, SLT observing and different things happened to be done by a certain time. Do you know what I mean? It was, everybody was getting used to it. And it gave me a chance to breathe, really. Gave me a chance to breathe and made me realise just how stressed I was, if I'm honest. Still, I was unable to leave. What am I going to do? Need to pay the rent. Need to put food on the table. What can I do? I can't get a job for my salary anywhere. I've looked all through Indeed and all of it. I can't do it.
I think you must have been Googling or something.
Yeah. I think I must have been going, how can I leave teaching? Dear Google, please tell me you're my friend. So I think I must have been one of the first people to join because your Facebook group would suggested page for me. And I joined the group in about June. I think it must have been July 2020.
We were only 3 weeks in at that point.
Yeah.
We're already 2 weeks in and 11,000 members.
Yeah. But gives you a good idea, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And so I saw your How to Tutor Online video, the How to Tutor Online video, my inspiration, in a phone with a gooseneck and a white.
Can you see how that's aged so badly already? People are now using all sorts of different devices, and I
was just about.
I rigged up a gooseneck and a phone and I was trying to keep the wolf from the door.
Yeah, absolutely. So my initial thought was, right, okay, I do with earning some extra cash. Sounds like a really good idea. I had a Facebook page and just put it on my profile and got, I think, 4 or 5 clients with an extra £150 a week. I'll do that. I'll keep me going. That'll keep the wolf from the door. I'll, save me going overdrawn. And so that's when and I went back to work in September. And if anybody was paying any attention to me back then on the page, if it wasn't for the members on that page, I genuinely do not think I would be here. I didn't want to go back. I was, oh my God, just so highly anxious. Tree and into several trees on the drive every morning and every evening.
It culminated in the kitchen, the dining room, didn't it?
Yeah, at school. I was on duty at school. I knew I wasn't well because I wasn't actually teaching that day. I had the whole day off, but I had to be in school. You know what I mean? And I realised that actually this is one day that I could actually take a phone call off my doctor because I'm not going to be anywhere. So I rang my doctor in the morning, and my doctor, you have to ring in the morning and they ring you back, and said I need to speak to a doctor quite urgently. So I don't even remember making that phone call. Next thing, I was on duty in the dining hall, the major panic attack. Genuinely, honestly thought that's the first time I've ever had a really bad panic attack like that. I'm not prone to them or anything like that. And I honestly, genuinely thought I was going to die. I couldn't breathe. I just couldn't breathe. And I was sent home, and my doctor rang me literally on the way, as I was driving home, actually, I got the phone call off my doctor. In home, I think I must have slept for about 3 days. My doctor signed me off there and then. I mean, just immediately there and then. And the panic set in. Okay, so now what do I do?
Because what you've got is, and this is the bit where I speak to members from the group, I do 2 a night, and this is the point they get themselves in. Everything I know to be true is tied up on that pay packet.
Yeah.
Everything I've ever worked for, every single, because at this point they think that what they've got is a quality of life is tied up in that pay packet. However, I am broken. I am unwell. I cannot sustain this life anymore.
Yeah.
Because I have to make a living on this wage. But I can't because it's killing me. But I can't give up because otherwise everything I've got is going to fall in on me. And then they find themselves in this central point in between these two horrendous trains of thoughts. And that's trapped in a classroom because your perception is you are financially reliant upon that job.
No, absolutely.
You are not. You are financially reliant upon a certain amount of money each month. That's it. So let's start to reframe what's going on here. You are the breadwinner, the main earner. You are whatever you call yourself, who has to bring in, what's the famous expression we use to define it? Your what? Your bottom line.
Absolutely.
What's your bottom line? I've been talking about bottom lines since about 2013. Okay? And I want to really explain what a bottom line is. A bottom line, and I want the people watching this now, this is your roadmap. This is your blueprint. This is the plan. Tell me what you need to live on each month. Do not pluck a figure from your head. Because if you pluck a figure from your head, I'll take 600 off it like that. Okay? Go to your last 3 months worth of bank statements and go through it with a highlighter pen. What do you need to keep that roof over your head? Because if it is the full Sky Sports package, no, you don't. Out. Free view and a fire stick. Sarah's got a great one with her £5 Starbucks. How much does it cost you to have a cup of coffee a day, Sarah, a month?
Well, if I paid for it,
obviously.
I have a pet manager. But it works out on average a £5 a day. If you go to Starbucks or Costa or any of those, it's £5 a day, 35 a week, 140 a month.
Okay, so £140 a month on a coffee. Find those. Find your takeaway bill. Find your wine bill.
Well, you know what? I backtracked, didn't I, last year when we did one of these conversations?
Yeah.
I backtracked, and in the 12 months prior to me exiting the classroom with a teenage boy at home and his girlfriend and me and husband, we spent somewhere between 8 and 10 grand in 12 months on takeaways.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because that's a symptomatic spend of a stressed environment.
Yeah.
Because actually, when you do come out of the classroom, you spend less petrol, your clothes bill goes down, your lunchtime bill goes down, petrol goes down, takeaways. Because when you walk through that door and you've still got 3 hours worth of work to do, you do a couple of things. You feed the kids on convenience food at a takeaway, which is far more expensive. And at the end of it, you reward yourself with a bottle of wine. You smoke more. All of these things are symptomatic of maintaining that existence. And you know what else? Your teacher's salary, I'll let you into a clue, is a bit rubbish. Because when you actually look at what you take home, it isn't a lifestyle wage. It is if it's the second wage in a home. And if it is the second wage in a home and it's making you ill, leave. The amount of people who get on the phone and they talk to me about the bottom line and then I say, are you on your own? Oh no, my husband earns. Right, well stop. What's the bottom line and is it covered by his salary? Yes. And leave.
Yeah.
Oh, I talked to you the other night on the phone and I used it, but because she's from down south, she didn't get this, Sarah. I said it's the pit pony.
I'm going,
What's a pit pony? Like, for God's sake, it's in the legs. What you see to me, a pit pony had a job where it walked round all day in a field, pulling a cart, right, the coal cart, or it'd go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And it had these blinkers on. And when the pit pony retired and they put it in a field, guess what it still did? Just did exactly what it did because it knew. And teachers get into this pit pony mentality where they're so focused on the job of what they're doing, they can't stop and look up. So you start and you go, right, this is how you do it. This is what you do with your bottom line. On average, the amount of people I speak to, a first scope of a bottom line is between about 1,700 and 2,300, right? 2,300 is a lot for a bottom line, right? So let's go with, you've cut everything back. You've stopped sponsoring that donkey from Afghanistan that you did 10 years ago because you thought...
Cancelled your gym membership.
Cancelled the gym membership you never go to, ever. And you go, right, what's the bottom line? Let's get the calculator out. My bottom line is £1,700. That's what I've got to generate. Not earn, not find a job. I've got to generate this.
Yep.
And then what you do is you divide it by 4. I've got to bring in 425 a week. And then you divide it by 5. I've got to generate £85 a day to keep a roof over my head and meet my bottom line.
Yep.
And it's important. It's £85 a day.
Oh, yeah.
The 7.
Yeah, that's only Monday to Friday.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you suddenly say, all right, let me have a look at my financial set of circumstances. I've got to bring in 85 quid a day. Right. What you don't do is, you don't then look on Indeed for a job that does that. Now, I know one of the biggest pushbacks we have is, people watch this and say, yeah, it's all right being a tutor. I don't really want to be a tutor because I'm a PE teacher or I'm a French teacher. And I know that. And I know that if you're a primary school teacher, go down the route of tutoring. Tell you that now.
Yeah.
Even if it's just to get you going, to get you from A to B. Because this, what we're talking about now, is for the moment. This is what's going to get you out. £85 a day is going to get you out of the classroom. What you do from there and go upwards is the next stage of the conversation we'll have. But if you've got to do 85 quid a day, look at multiple income streams.
Absolutely.
Don't go from one job to another. So how I did it was, I signed up with an agency. I signed up with supply agencies. 3 days a week supply pulled me there in. I built up some tutoring in an evening. Well, a lot of tutoring for those of you who know my story. I joined the National Teaching and Advisory Service. They don't care what your subject is. You're going into children's homes doing functional maths and functional English. You can do that if you're a DT teacher. You can do that if you're a PE teacher. I signed up with my local borough council for kids who've broken their legs, right? So supply, National Teaching and Advisory Service, hospital schools. You have to really have a certain kind of gusto to do that if you're teaching terminally ill kids. Signing up with acting agencies who need chaperones and that kind of thing. There are a variety of different ways that you suddenly start to go, what's my commodity? I'm a teacher. Working Aldi for an afternoon if it gets you 85 quid.
You can clean caravans in Cornwall. If you clean caravans, you get on average 94 quid for the day.
Because what you've actually said to yourself is, that's what I need to generate. Don't forget your family allowance will knock some of that money off.
Yeah.
You've got a variety of different ways. Stop thinking of replacing one job for another job because £85 a day is not that much.
And that's such a crucial mindset thing.
Yeah.
That I can't jump because I need to get another job that brings me that money, and that was the moment the scales fell from my year with you last January was like, oh God, I've got so many skill sets.
I can go and make resources. I can be an exam marker. I can go and be an exam invigilator. I can do whatever I need to do. I can go be a midday assistant. I'm not bothered because I've got my figure on the fridge. Mine was 1,300, by the way. What was yours, Sue? 1,700.
Yeah, mine, I think, yeah, just over 1,700, I think 1,740, something like
And
that.
what else you do is you go, right, that's my buffer. So whilst I'm in teaching, I'm going to just live to 1,700 and I'm going to save the rest. So I've got a buffer.
That was my advantage, was that for a long period of time, even before everything happened with me, I'd always had this pipe job, what I thought was a pipe dream of getting out and being a photographer. And so I'd swept money away. So in the 20-minute drive home, the day that I walked out from school, I'd got myself in my head from needing £3,500 a month, which was what my take home was, to about 1,900, because I just said, right, well, I stopped saving. I stopped overpaying the mortgage. I stopped doing my
I go back to my bills and I start paying the minimum credit card bill.
Yeah.
Because this is a temporary plan. This is your lifeboat out.
Yeah.
Go back over those things and start to pay less. And if you're off sick, bloody squirrel it away.
Yeah, put it away, because, I mean, that's what I did. I mean, I literally, I looked at my debts, was still doing some tutoring in the evening. I had like 5 clients, and which were all sort of children of friends and family and stuff. But that money I used, I had one debt that I was paying of £100 a month off. Actually, once I rang them up and said, "Will you take a settlement if I pay it early? How much is that?" Literally, I could pay it off with 3 weeks. 3 weeks of that 5 students, I could pay that off, and that was like a big gone.
And do you know what, Sue?
Squirrel stuff away.
If you've got to say, call it 90 for sake of arguing, if you've got to earn 90 a day, you need 3 students a night.
3 students, yeah.
And you suddenly go, hang on, that can't, and this is what happens. They go, that can't be right. And there's still a pushback because it's fear. Because they suddenly go, and this is what will happen, and this is the process of what people will do when they're watching this. They'll go, that can't be right. And then they look at it and they come back at it and they unpick it and they go, bloody hell, they're right. And then that sits with them for a minute and then they go, but. And that's when the fear rushes over them with an avalanche. And they go, but what if I don't get the 3 students? What if NTAS don't want me? What if there's no supply in my area? I live in a remote area where there's only 15 secondary school. Right? They start blocking everything to make this work. So do you know what I do? And this is the one where they have an absolute epiphany. I say, right, so what's your life looking like at the moment? Oh, I've no time for the kids. I cry all the time. My husband doesn't even recognise me. He says he misses the old me. I'm working round the clock. I go, right, okay. Have you got kids? Yeah, how old are they? I've got a boy who's 15 and I've got a girl who's 9. All right. Do you know the biggest soul influence on a child is a parent?
Yeah.
Can you tell me the role model you're being for your daughter? And there's this silence. So your daughter sees a stressed out mother, overworking, crying because she's not got the guts to leave. Is that what you're teaching your girl? That if she's in a really place, she's got to stay? No, absolutely not. Would you want your daughter living like, no, I tell her to get out. Yeah. And then all of a sudden they go, oh, because I don't value myself enough to do that, but I wouldn't have it for my kids.
I think that's what teaching does to you. I think, there's that constant criticism of teaching. And even if you're the person that, it could be positive criticism, if you like, genuinely, because you're being judged all the time, you then start to doubt yourself and you start to judge yourself. That's what you do.
Sue, but what kind of messages are we giving our own kids? No, say, this is what working life looks like.
No.
This is what a job does. Do you know what you do, kids? I'm going to work really hard with you to do your homework so you can go to university and end up as miserable as I am. What kind of a message is that? Where dads, fathers in the profession, are pushing the kids away, going, show me after, son, show me after.
Yeah.
Because they're dealing with other kids' work.
Yeah.
So the biggest and most powerful message we can give our children is, if it's toxic, if it's making you ill, whether it is a marriage or a job, you vote with your feet and you leave and you find the confidence to get out there for 85 quid a day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've even said to our Ellie, and I've taught her this, if you're going out with your mates and one of them turns a bit toxic and you get the black spot, the way girls do, come and get me. I'm on my way, kid. Because you don't stay in an environment that makes you ill, and teach your kids that.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time. And what you said about that, and I do remember, I mean, again, it's so many little light bulb moments over the last 6 months. That when you said, I think you called it multiple income stream. I call it not in all my eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
That's what I call it. So once I realised that it didn't have to come, money that I needed didn't have to come from one income, from one thing.
Tell us what you're doing now, Sue, please.
I am a tutor, and you might all go, yeah, they're going to be people. I had those 5 clients, and I thought, still did not believe that I could do it on my own. Also, actually, I need to have that £85 a day. I mean, that's what I need to earn. So how am I going to get that? So I did mine specifically for tutoring. So I did type in maths tutor on Facebook. Loads of people went, right, okay, I'll reply to them. I typed it in on Indeed. Found a couple of alternative education provision near me. Wanted online maths tutor, so I applied to them. I applied to 2 or 3 other companies. I met a lovely lady on the teaching group who runs an alternative school in Horsham in Surrey. Spoke to her and offered my services to her if she wanted it. I also then my Facebook page and put it on Flogit site, put it on home educational sites. If I got kicked off, fine, I'll just put it on another one. Put it on home ed sites. Joined home ed sites as myself and started just offering free advice to people and not saying I was a maths tutor necessarily, just to get myself in there and talking and generating. Then when they asked, well, how do you know? What do you do now then if you're not teaching? Oh, I'm a maths tutor now. Not allowed to advertise though. My page is linked to my personal profile. So I got all these different income stories. Started you advertised on Facebook for tutors, so I started working for you. I then started working for Sarah and Charlotte. Don must message me every week. Can you got any spaces yet? No. But that's what I do.
I'm going to ask you a personal question. What are you taking on?
Round about. So, bear in mind, I didn't start till January. So this is only 4 months. I take home around about £880 a week.
How much is that for how many hours?
Many. See all the different colours, that's all the different providers. And you can see that the vast majority of it is still private because that's the purple, obviously.
In real terms?
In real terms, 32 hours a week. It's 33.
You're definitely less than a 60 to 80 hour working week.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I get it. None of my days start before 10. I am not a morning person. That extra 2 hours in bed. That extra 2 hours, I'm not getting up at 6:20. I'm getting up at 8:15, sitting in bed with a cup of tea, reading the news. I'm sitting here in my slippers in my room. I'm going to have a wee when I want. I'm going to have a cup of tea when I want. I'm going to have some lunch when I want. There, I teach an hour. I have a half-hour gap. I teach an hour. I have an hour gap. I might teach 2 or 3 hours and have an hour gap.
What's your mindset like though, Sue? Are you panicking about September? What's going to happen if all this dries up and whatever?
What if it doesn't?
Yeah.
What if it doesn't? Fear kept me 2 years longer in school than I should have been. If not even longer. It stopped me seeing my family. It made me miss funerals, weddings, birthdays. Was lucky. I was only just lucky to be present at the birth of one of my grandchildren, only because it was half-term week. It has made me miss doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, hospital appointments.
I am now a freelance. You don't say I'm an ex-teacher. I'm a freelance educator. Now let's assume I'll tell you what I'd do if I was primary. And I keep talking about this and I keep dropping this into people. If I was primary, I'd start off with some tuition. And then in this day and age, I know exactly what I would do. I would book a church hall or I would book a community centre. And I would plan myself a 6-week programme of phonics for mums and tots. Not just mums and tots and the old drivel with sing-along with Johnny and all that stuff, I would be teaching parents how to teach their children to read, and you could write a blank check for that.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't exist. The COVID gaps that these kids have been left with, you could teach a mother how to help their kid read. So if you're a primary school teacher, don't come crying to me that you can't leave, because there's such a demand for online tuition, it's untrue. There's such a demand for face-to-face tuition, it's untrue. The national tutoring programme is massive. A massive demand for tutors.
Well, on it, when I applied for all those different tutoring agencies and things, I set myself a bottom figure of what I was willing to work for. And my bottom figure was £25 an hour. I'm not working for less than £25 an hour. That's 4 students a day I need as a minimum. And so when a tutoring agency would get back to me and say, yeah, and we offer you £17.50 an hour, I'd go, no, thank you. Knowing my worth is so important.
Yeah. And it's interesting, just off my tangent, that I was talking to somebody the other day, I'm not even sure if she's a member of the group, but she should be, who was paid £44 for a day's supply. Really, I do a Linda Evangelista, I'm not getting out of bed in less than my bottom line amount.
I think it's multiple income streams. It's being entrepreneurial. So, all right, if you're a DT teacher or if you're a modern foreign languages teacher, I understand there are limits to what you can do. That is your subject specialism, and you are in secondary school. But there are ways round it. We've just told you, do a couple of days supply with the right mindset. I'm in and out. I'm not asked.
Functional skills. Everybody can teach functional skills.
Everyone can teach functional skills. And do you know what? If you've got half a brain, you can go and analyse the Year 6 SATS curriculum.
Yeah.
And you can do it. You stand there and you go, I'm a mathematical or I'm a literacy. I'm a numeracy or literacy. I'm literacy. Right. What does a kid need to know for Year 6 SATs? And I defy anybody who's in the teaching profession who cannot reskill themselves to do that.
Yeah,
if they want to, that's absolutely fine. Find your joy. So if you're a PE teacher and you say, right, I can't do this, then go and set yourself up as a personal trainer.
And there's just, I'm not picking on PE teachers, but PE teachers in schools have a limited lifespan.
Yeah, they do.
They hit a point where schools don't want them to be PE teachers anymore, and they sideline them into, so either at that point they choose to go to their second subject or they get bored somewhere. So do that, take control of that situation, and find your niche now before somebody says, do you know what, I want you teaching bottom set geography.
Yes, and you're absolutely right, Sarah, and there are so many. Start being entrepreneurial. Start saying, if I've got to earn £85 a day, I'll drive a forklift truck if I need to. But what I'll do is I will grow my jumping beans business of whatever, where I'm doing mini football or I'm doing karate or I'm doing... There's a great business model, and it's a really, really simple business model. If you've got a skill, whether it's phonics or PE or calligraphy or whatever you can do, right? Go and book a room. Go and book a room in a venue for about 25 quid and have a price point of £7.50. Right, per customer, right? So let's say for 1 minute your skills was karate or Pilates or whatever. These are unregulated business models, and you charge £7.50 for a person to come in, and you get 10 people in that room. It's 75 quid. You only need to earn 85 a day. Get rid of being a pit pony. Work out what you like doing. I spoke to a guy last night. He put something on Flog It Friday. I'm going to give him a shout out. Jonathan Parker, his name is. Oh, he made those pens, right? I got on a Zoom call with him last night. I went, what are you doing? I said, they are phenomenal. And I couldn't buy one because you'd not set up a sales funnel that I was 3 clicks away from purchasing, right? And he's looking at me. He's the most talented man. I said, why have you not done a video of how to make them? £35 a pen, right? That's how much he's charging. Go and sell 4 a day.
Well, I think as well about Helena in our group.
Showed in Helena Hearty Woods, yeah.
I know she's over in Reddish today at a Maker's Market. They're all stocked up,
Yeah.
and they'll do it. And she's
Okay.
You are things, isn't it?
You are not going to make a living coming out of teaching selling candles.
No.
Right? Absolutely not. But what you are going to do is chip away at that 85 quid with how many candles you do sell. If you've got 3 other days supply, if you're then working in a hospital school, if you're then working in Aldi, if you're doing... One of the things we have to drop is the pride of being a teacher, because it's hard. Because if you're first generation university like I was in our family, my dad would be, help, my daughter, who is a teacher, is drowning. Because he was so proud. So to actually suddenly go, I've quit, burnt out, they've won. You've got to fight your pride. And that's when you go back to, what role model am I being for my family? Because you walk away.
You've also got to flip that, because the other aspect of the mindset is the word just. I'm just a teacher.
Yeah.
But God, you are so much more.
Yes. And when you're coming out and you're making that bottom line work for yourself, right? And you're pulling that 1,500 that month. The one thing that doesn't happen, and this is the last section of this that I think is important. When you've been on an incremental glass ceiling type institution, no matter how many hours you work, that pay packet's going to look the same. There is an abundance of wealth out there. So if you are going to leave teaching and do that bottom line, then you have got to work as hard on your mindset as you do on creating that money.
Absolutely.
So this is what I say as well. You start with really, really understanding the power of your mental robustness. And that comes from mental health and well-being. The first thing you do is you read books like The Secret, The Law of Attraction, The Importance of Manifestation of Success. Okay? Go down a rabbit hole at 3 o'clock at night when you can't sleep because of stress. Watch TED Talks. Look at the most successful entrepreneurs in our society, because they don't do it by chance. They have a robust mental attitude to money. So you start to look at things like the power of the universe, the law of attraction, The Secret. The next thing you do is you meditate. You get into mental health and well-being where you meditate. And if you have come out of teaching, you start to find the joy in nature. You go for that walk. You treat yourself kindly. Do some work on your inner child and be as passionate about your mental health as you are about your financial health. And then what will happen is you will exceed what you were earning in the classroom within no time at all. So just to summarise on what we do, sort your finances out. Get your bottom line. The next thing is feel the fear and do it anyway.
Before you don't have a choice.
Yeah. While you can still negotiate your reference, whilst you still are fit enough to earn that 1,300. What you then do is when you are out, you have faith that this is going to be okay. And that comes quite quickly, actually, I think. Sue's 4 months in, 4 months out.
4 months in.
4 months in, she's meeting the bottom line, and there's an abundant and exceeding it, quite frankly. And there's stuff out there that's coming in quite nicely. Sarah's got multiple income streams and she's got multiple businesses. Okay, well, are you prepared to do what is your bottom line? Are you prepared to do your earnings at the moment, and not including the profits from your businesses?
No, so my bottom line, my absolute bottom line is $1,468 a month, and the last month was my first 3K month.
Is that including the profit from your businesses? No,
so that was my 3K take home. So the profits from the businesses as well, so separate to my photography and my coaching, the profits from the business, probably going to get another 6K in me just in terms of profit by the end of July, and then weddings and things that have started back up again. I've tipped now into I might have a couple of what my dad delightfully calls squeaky bum moments, where the money doesn't come in at the right time.
Cash flow, yeah.
But that's what a bit of sleight of hand and transferring off credit cards with doing something here, there, and everything. But it's balancing out now, and I'm now back at a point which I didn't envisage being at, where I'm having conversations with my husband about being able to put back the savings that I needed to decimate last year, but also starting to talk about starting to save to create a deposit for my son to be able to buy a house in 3 or 4 years.
And Sarah, are you English, maths or science?
No.
What's your specialism?
Business studies and economics.
Right. But what did you do?
I went and learned syllabuses. I skilled myself up, so I teach children free now.
So you teach English, maths and science because you just went and did it. You've got a Connexus business that you've talked about, which has got a healthy profit. Actually, you've 2 Connexuses, to be fair. You've then got your Joy products, which is your photography and your wedding. So realistically speaking, spanning that between now and July, and you do an over, because I know what your figures are, you're looking at about £5,000 a month earnings.
Yeah, I'm going to have to pay the tax, Mum.
It's always worth it. Always worth it.
Yeah. But this is the other thing that this thing just kind of cycling back. It's the things that you don't realise how much they're actually taking out of that. You know, I used to say, I'm on a cushy number here. I'm on 65k a year. Actually, in terms of what you're taking home, it was 35, 38, 41. And so over a third of that was going on tax.
Oh, this pension business. What about my PT? Oh, shut up about your teacher's pension. Why? There's nothing. You are better off coming out, right? Getting life insurance and starting paying the Prudential. If that's what's keeping you in that classroom, you are being utterly ridiculous, right? Because they are just the false gods that if I can't, I've got to earn this amount of, like you said, my teacher's pension was 65k. No, it wasn't. In reality, you were bringing home under 40, right? Yeah. You're bringing, now when you do your figures for this year and you've got you're going to be bringing about 40 again once you've paid the tax, man. But you're in control. You're not ill. And this is where you then got to factor in, how am I conducting myself? I go to Starbucks. We have a ball.
I go for walks. I can sit in my garden and have my breakfast. I can see my child.
Can breathe. Yeah. I'm not in a grip of anxiety and fear. Do you know, and I speak to teachers on the phone and it does make me laugh, the mindset. Speaking to a lovely lady the other night, I was talking to her about group tutoring. And she said to me, and I talked to her about my group tutoring at the weekend and how many I have on a call. And she went, how many are you allowed to have? I said, right, it's your business. And have as many as you want, love. And she's like, oh,
it's so difficult to get out of that mindset.
Pit pony.
Yeah.
And that, in a nutshell, is what you do in order to get out of teaching. Work out what's the minimum I've got to earn. Find out a means of earning it, which is easier than you think. But take the bloody leap before it kills you, if only to model to your own family that I am worth more than this. And I am not having my teenage daughter and teenage son thinking that this is what an adult's life looks like, because it doesn't.
Thank you, as always, for listening to our Pit Pony podcast. On behalf of Sarah, our guests, and all involved with the production, we're so grateful for your support. Please subscribe to our channels, follow us on social media, and we look forward to seeing you next time when we will have another inspirational story from a fellow Pit Pony who has exited the classroom and thrived.